This Week in Connecticut with Dennis House starts now.
Greetings, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. We have a fascinating show ahead for you. First, how would you like to get paid for a 4-day work week? The first Selectman of Canton joins us to tell us how it works in his town. The Jewish holidays are here, and this year the messages have extra meaning. Rabbi Yosef Wolfowski will explain. Also, learning about an amazing organization, the Husky Ticket Project. Ryan Matthews talks with me about it, along with two of his friends who have benefited from this program. But first, the lead. The 4-day work week. Sounds good, doesn't it? The 3-day weekend business model is being tried out in one Hartford suburb, and so far, so good. And joining us now is the first Selectman of the town of Canton, Kevin Witkos. And first Selectman Witkos, good to see you here in the program.
Nice to see you again too, Dennis.
So first of all, last time I interviewed you, you were in the state legislature. And do you miss it at all?
I miss it a little bit, but I don't miss the hours.
Yeah, and the bipartisan or the partisan bickering back and forth sometimes.
You know, it really got to be very partisan up there, and you don't see it at the local level now.
So what made you decide you wanted to lead a town as first Selectman?
I think the policy end of it, I still enjoyed, and I love giving back to my community. And I was asked, and we had a retiring first Selectman, so I said, oh, you know, I'm up for the job still. I still had that, you know, fire in the belly, if you will.
And Canton is one of those fast-growing towns in Connecticut, right? A few years ago, it was one of the fastest-growing in the state.
We are, and you know, in our little village of Collinsville, it was named one of the top 10 coolest towns in Connecticut.
And your population's about 10,000 now, but expected to grow even more?
Yeah. As more and more of we're actually expanding our housing units in apartments now, which we didn't have an inventory of apartments. So we're looking to expand our population by thousands.
So the big news out of Canton that has everybody buzzing, including in our newsroom, is the new 4-day work week for town employees. Tell us how that works and how it came about.
Well, when I took over as first Selectman, you know, I said, well, what you did before in the past isn't necessarily the way it's going to go in the future. And I wanted to find a work-life balance for my employees, because I think that if you can take care of your personal items at home and you're not worried about making appointments and taking care of your kids, et cetera, then you'll be more laser-focused at work. So the thought was, let's try out, we're on a trial basis now, a 4-day work week. They have Fridays off, and they have extended hours, so we're not interrupting public service. Actually, we're expanding the hours at the town hall for the residents to come in and do the things that they need to do. And most of the things they can do already online.
So, for instance, what's a new schedule like on a Tuesday?
So we're Monday, Tuesday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Wednesdays, we stay open till 6. And then Thursdays, we're back to 8 to 5.
And does this affect all departments in the state? And, you know, in the city? The town, right?
Yeah, well, the non-union ones, really the town hall and social services and senior services. Our library, they already have enough staff that they can do that. We did ask our unions if they wanted to do that. They're happy with their schedules the way they are now. So, but it does affect our administrations in our DPW, administrations in the police department. So they all get the 4-day work week.
So they all get the 4-day work week. And what's the response been so far?
So the employees love it. We haven't heard very much so from the residents. We do have a website up or an email address. If they want to say some concerns, we respond back to questions. But so far, so good. You know, people are saying, how can I do that? Yeah,
well, a lot of people are talking about it. Yeah, a lot of other towns. Have you heard from other first selectmen in other towns who say, hey, how does this work?
Well, we actually reached out to a couple of communities that already had it, some larger communities. I think we're one of the first small towns in Connecticut to do that, and they're anxious to hear about, you know, what our results were.
So you say that it increases productivity and morale, you were saying. What are the downsides? Have you, perhaps, come across any problems with maybe being closed on Fridays?
No, we were already only a half day on Fridays anyways.
Okay.
And most of the people that would come in would be attorneys filing land records, but once they know what our hours are, they can actually come in earlier Monday through Thursday.
How much money does it save taxpayers to do it this way?
Well, it does save taxpayers because our buildings are closed, so we can, adjust the heating and cooling during that period to save money.
Okay.
Along with so all of our energy costs, and again, then that adds to the footprint of, being more carbon neutral moving forward, because we're not burning or requiring that.
What kind of attention are you getting? Are other people saying, hey, like townspeople calling to say, hey, this is a great idea, or what's the feedback been?
The feedback's been great. A lot of the residents are saying, people deserve it. We are not the highest paid municipality in the state, so what can we offer our hardworking employees? Something that is not monetary.
While I have you here, there's been a lot of talk that so many cities and towns are having trouble finding employees, from police departments to teachers to sanitation departments, that there just aren't enough people out there in the workforce these days. Are you finding that in Canton?
We are. It depends on what the job is. I mean, building inspectors are hard to come by, assessors are hard to come by.
Why is that, you think?
I just think that we don't have a pipeline for these folks. A lot of municipalities are sharing those services amongst themselves because they can't get anybody. Yeah. And if a lot of folks are retiring and just picking up full-time jobs and hours through all the towns.
You have some other small towns nearby. Avon comes to mind. Simsbury.
Avon, New Hartford. We share services often.
What kind of services do you share?
Well, animal control. We were sharing our senior services for a while, our social services, building inspector. It's just whenever we can to find cost efficiencies, we do.
And what are some of the crime problems that Canton is having? Small town, it must be.
Speeding is the biggest complaint.
Yeah, there are a lot of reckless drivers on Route 44, yeah.
Well, the biggest complaint is speeding, but then when you ask the police to do a directed patrol there, it's the neighborhood people that are caught in the trap, and they say, well, I live on this road. So, it's difficult to enforce speeding because they can't be out there 24/7.
And if you look at the DWP website, Canton is one of the bear capitals of Connecticut. You have a lot of bear sightings in town.
Here's an interesting story. The police came and knocked on my door 2 days ago, and they said, keep your dog inside. We have some chickens. Keep those locked up because a bear attacked a baby goat down the street and was eating it. And I said, how is it? And DEP came out and shot it 3 times, and it wandered off into the woods. And they said, you recognize it because there's blood on its face. Yeah. And so, of course, we're like, whoa. I didn't think bears ate, they were carnivores. And they said when they're cubs, that would be the time as they're fattening themselves up for hibernation.
Interesting. So are bears becoming a big problem in town? I mean, there are a lot of sightings.
We have bears almost every single day spotted in town, but people don't call it in because they're used to it.
Yeah, today I got a text from someone who tipped me off about some bears were eating some pumpkins in West Hartford. So they're out there and they're causing problems, but you do have to be careful.
And they're fattening themselves up. This is the season where they're getting ready to go into hibernation.
All right, Kevin Witkos, he is the mastermind of the 4-day work week in the town of Canton. We appreciate your insight and that. Best of luck. Good to see you.
Appreciate it. Nice seeing you too.
And later, a really cool way to get young people to UConn games. And next, celebrating the year 5785.